Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we did verse 11 last time, which was, the English translation is, yogis having abandoned attachment perform action merely by the body, mind and intellect and senses for the purification of the self, and then in parentheses says ego. So we were just learning last verse that, the person who is like jnani person, a yogi, the one who is kind of doing the karma yoga properly, his purpose of doing action is purity of mind. That's what his main thing is. That's what we, just to give a one line. And then let's go to verse 12 now. Here Krishna Bhagavan is talking about two different kinds of people. One who is yuktaha and one is ayuktaha, means one who is doing the karma yoga properly and one who is not. And what is the difference between them? That's what he's talking about, just to give you a little idea. So here is a verse 12. Whoever has the Bhagavad Gita can open verse 12 of chapter 5. We can chant together. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shanti mapnoti naishtikam ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate. So yukta is the united one, well poised. But here, I had mentioned that everything is very brief, very subtle. So we have to go a little bit more deeper into each meaning, and we will go. They are just saying united one, united to what that we should know. United to the karma yoga, that's what it means. Karma phalam, fruit of action. Tyaktva, having abandoned. Shantim is peace. Everybody knows Shanti. Apnoti means to attain. Naishtikam, final. Actually, Naishtikam means उसमें एकदम established हो जो, बहुत अच्छे से. Ayuktaha is the non-united one. Kamakarena, impelled by desire. So he's telling the difference between yukta and ayukta. Phale is in the fruit. Sakta is attached to the fruit of action. Nibadhyate is bound. So, just like I had mentioned that there's a lot of repetition of the concept, but they always take it from a certain way, angle or comparing, and so that those concepts kind of deeply sink into us, because it looks very simple, it looks very good, but it's not that easy for us to sink in those concepts. So when we are constantly approaching it with all different angles, then there is more chances of it getting. So let's see what approach he's taking over here. So Bhagwan is telling the one who is endowed with karma yoga attitude, that person is yukta. And ayukta is opposite of it, the one who is not endowed with karma yoga attitude. So, and then we know that karma yoga is just not enough to just know about it. When somebody is yukta, he's actually performing in that mode. A lot of people know all the theories, but when it comes to practice, we can't do it, or we cannot do it fully, and we are still trying, and which is okay as long as we keep getting better at it. So now what's the difference? Let's look at them. Superficially, if you see them, they both are doing the performing action. Okay? So, but the yukta person is performing action as a worship of God. That's what we learned, right? So we have to just reminding ourselves that the yukta person is performing action as worship of God. And the God can be, as we know, it can be a personal God. You can dedicate it to the higher, and it can be Rama, Krishna, Hanumanji, whatever you want to do. Or you can say the whole world is a body of God, that we learned that, if you do the Bhagavad Gita in the further chapters, you will see that the entire cosmos is, physical cosmos is like, they call it the body of the entire God, So somebody can look at it that way, or pure existence, or your own self, whichever way you want to look at it, that does not matter, but dedicating it or is a worship of that. And that we know that the person who is yukta, means who is endowed with this karma yoga attitude, he will take the result as a prasad. Okay? And also not have the attachment to that result while doing the work. That's another. But what does an ignorant person, a yukta person does? He does action for the result. मेरे को क्या मिलेगा इसमें, वो सबसे पहले सोचेगा, और वो काम करते टाइम पे भी यही सोचता रहेगा. So then, like in अमेरिका में और वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में होता है ना, वर्किंग फॉर द पे चेक. That's what it is. बट जो लोग युक्त होते हैं ना, वो उनका ध्यान पे चेक में, that's like a bonus that might just come on the side. Nobody's saying it's not important, so don't take it wrong. But उसका ध्यान उसमें नहीं, तो उसका ध्यान होता है मेरे को ये जॉब मिला है तो मैं सबसे अच्छा जॉब कैसे करूं, उसकी वैसी भावना होती है. ये नहीं कि भाई मिनिमम काम करके मेरे को चेक मिल जाए. That's the difference between the two. So what he does, he gets happiness, satisfaction, contentment, whatever, everything for him is work. So when somebody works like that, that's when the work becomes a joy, and almost like a entertainment. Like I remember that somebody asked Swamiji, in the early days and all that, when they were not used to, who this person is, and, with the knowledge, and all, they said, Swamiji, don't you need like a vacation? So he's saying, who needs a vacation? Vacation is when you are like totally disgusted with what you're doing, and then you want to go somewhere. I'm enjoying myself so much, I don't need to. It's just a thought, that usually, like, if somebody is enjoying their job so much, they don't even think about it. I have to run around here and there. The opportunity comes, he might go, but he's not craving for it or something. Kab mere ko mile, kab main bhagu yahan se, not like that. So that's what the whole shift in attitude. So what happens when somebody is like, gets himself trained in this mode? That's what Krishna Bhagavan is talking in this verse. He's saying that he attains peace. That's the main thing. It's a deep sense of peace that is coming from inside. That's what happens. Obviously, this is a logical thing. If somebody is enjoying their work, they are peaceful at it, And then we will see what exactly peace also means. And he was just, the Delhi Wale Swami was reminding us that this fellow is very intelligent, and that's why he does not put his mind in the result, because scientifically we know results is not in our hand, because there are many factors that contribute to the final result. Because sometimes we may do a lot of hard work and some natural disaster might happen or something, right? So that's absolutely not in our hand. And even in the worldly factors sometimes happen. So because he knows it so well, he has an understanding. He knows the science of it, that, hey, the result is not in my hand. So that's why, when he develops this attitude with his understanding, that's why he's peaceful, And so this, what happens is that if he develops this attitude, your mind becomes pure. That's why that peace comes. So we have learned this, but all these concepts are being repeated because this verse is kind of making us think about that, all these things. So jitna mind pure hoega, utna hi peace jada aayegi. So this peace that is coming, it is not some kind of agreement between the two countries. Oh, we'll be peaceful now, peace agreement, nothing like that. This is a peace more coming from inside. And then what does that peace translate into? He has no complaints with anybody. Ye kyun hua, wo kyun hua. He has no anger, he has no jealousy. And if things go wrong, go upside down and all, he does not get disturbed. Because he knows that changing world, And this pandemic is a perfect example, we have to deal with it. Take the vaccination, take the booster, whatever we need to do. But some people would just, oh, ye kyun aaya, ye hua, usi mein sara time bita denge. You have to deal with it anyway, So that's what he's talking about. It's more with understanding, And then we have discussed it that if you really go into the nitty-gritty of this pandemic, we have only caused it. Humans have only caused it by encroaching on the animals and destroying the earth and doing all that. So it is like a balance kharab kar diya humne. Otherwise, this virus is supposed to be staying in the animals, and if you leave the wild animals alone, it would have probably not even crossed over. So I'm just saying. So we are only responsible, but sometimes one person cannot control it. It's a collective karma also that affects everybody. So he just accepts it. So he developed this attitude, and then that doesn't mean that he just sits around and does nothing. Because people kind of misunderstand. Oh yeah, sab Bhagwan ki marji. No, if whatever situation is outside and if it's not good, he will do something about it. He will do the effort to take care of it and all that, but he won't get disturbed. So we have to know that distinction, because you can take it completely wrong. Oh, Bhagwan ki marji, to mujhe kuch karne ki zarurat kya? No, not like that at all. And then, that Dilli Wale Swami gave a very good example. He's saying it's like a surgeon. When the surgeon is operating, he has to be balanced and peaceful. Otherwise, he cannot operate. And when somebody does surgery, a lot of things can go wrong. And the thing is not very beautiful over there. There's blood, there is this, and he's just doing it. Everything, he's handling the situation and the sick person and all that, but he's keeping his balance. Something like that you have to be, So, and then the other thing he was saying, that if the peace is bubbling from inside and your inside is peaceful, that's when people cannot disturb. Nothing can disturb you. But if your mind is always connected with the outwardly result or something, that's when the problem happens. So that's how we have to distinguish, it is. And then he's saying that what you do outwardly, that has nothing to do with the peace inside, he said. That was such an important point. He's saying that sometimes people will give a long list of things that they are doing in the world. Like, oh, I get up at 4 a.m., I take the bath with cold water, and then I go and do chanting, and I do japa, then I go in the mandir every day, and I do abhishek, and मैं तेल चढ़ाता हूँ, मैं पानी चढ़ाता हूँ, ये करता हूँ, वो करता हूँ. And then कोई पूछेगा, are you peaceful? No, Baba, I'm very disturbed. So he's saying that what you do outside, that has nothing to do with it. You can do 100 things and it may look very sattvic and great, but this is something inside attitude they're talking about, and you develop it slowly with the karma yoga attitude. And then he also said that a lot of people complain, मैं तो इतना सब कुछ किया, इतनी पूजा की, इतना जप किया, भगवान मुझे शांति क्यों नहीं देते? Like, मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों होता है and all that. So you see how Bhagavad Gita is telling you, hey, the outside has nothing to do with it. It can be all upside down, but inside is the one that you have to develop. So he's saying, he also mentioned again, which is, we have talked about it, that it's not what you are doing, but how you are doing it, And then basically it is like, he's saying that sometimes people drop their duties and then go to the mandir, run around here and there, ghar wale bhi pareshan ho jate hain. So that has nothing to do with it. You don't need to drop your duty. In fact, it is like you do your duty correctly. That's what they are asking you to do with the right attitude, I'm not saying don't go to the mandir and all that. So don't misunderstand this. But we should know that doing all those things, if you don't have the right attitude, is not going to do anything for you. That's what the main point over here is. And so then we discussed that the peace comes, and that peace, that word naishtikam is there in there. So that means it's a very deep peace that you get. And that peace is happening because of abidance in the self. That as the mind gets purer and purer and all the negativity goes away, then the abidance in the self is happening and you are connecting to the self, that's why you get that peace. So ये तो peaceful आदमी का description हो गया. अभी जो अयुक्त है, who is not peaceful, वो उसका दिमाग कहाँ पर चल रहा है. So वो क्या करता है कि वो भी बहुत सारा काम करता है, लेकिन वो किसके लिए करता है? अहंकार के लिए करता है काम. अहंकार, सेल्फिशनेस, प्राइड, प्रेजुडिस, एंगर, उसमें आके करता है वो काम. That's the difference in him. So it may appear that he is doing such a great job. Maybe, just an example, that he is doing कुछ अनुष्ठान किया, कुछ पूजा किया and all that. उसका पूजा में ध्यान कम है और show off में ज़्यादा है. Or I'm doing it bigger than my neighbor or my relative or something, that. So ऊपर से देखिएगा कि बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है, मगर उसके अंदर अभिमान जागृत हो रहा है and all that. So that's what we have to watch out for. And he gave example of all these people, like we know all these stories, Ravan and Kans and Hiranyakashipu. वे मेरी पूजा करो, पूजा तो करो मगर मेरी करो, kind of thing, self importance in everything, So this ayukta person works for himself. He's attached to the action, a complete workaholic, restless, wants result, and he's very attached to the results also, and then taking a lot of pride, competition, pride, greed, all these negative emotions की वजह से propels him. So that's what is the selfish desire is propelling him to do the work. Whereas a yukta person, he's doing as a worship of God. So there's a huge difference in it. So what the Delhi wale Swami said, ये ayukta person में ना वो छोटा I, not the capital I. Capital I is that self. छोटा I कहीं फंसा हुआ है, निकल नहीं रहा है उसके यहाँ से, So and अगर कोई अच्छा काम भी करेगा ना तो वो ये अपने selfish reason के लिए करेगा. That's the huge problem, So that's why the work, more than the work, the attitude is important. And then that's why he doesn't have the peace, And then and also he's totally bound. When we say that somebody is bound by something, what are he bound? He's bound by? He's bound by the cycle of karma. हम लोग का purpose है कि कर्मों से छूटना, right? So that's why we said ऐसा अकर्म मोड में कर्म करो ताकि you don't get entangled again. But if you don't do it in that mode, if you do it for anger, pride, jealousy and all, तो उसका क्या होता है कि impression पड़ता है mind पे, and then you do the work again. So जन्म मरण का चक्कर बंद ही नहीं होता है उसका. So that's why it's called bound. And he was just saying that how we get little addictions हो जाते हैं हमारी life में, we can't do without these things, Western countries में तो बहुत होता है, I can't live without my house, I can't live without my car, my this, my that and all that. हम लोग अभी तो phone हो गया, phone का addiction हो गया सबको. Without phone we cannot live. I don't know, sometimes we say, I don't know how we managed, but we did. We still did fine. So all these addictions happen. Nobody's saying don't use the phone, but don't get super attached to it. That's the problem. So the question is that why Krishna Bhagwan is telling him this? He's telling him, you want to be karma yogi and be peaceful. He's telling Arjun, as though. This is just we are deriving out of it. Why he's talking about this thing. Do you want to be a karma yogi and be peaceful? Or you want to be a non-karma yogi and be totally disturbed? The choice is yours, Arjun. You pick what you want to do. So basically in the verse 11, 12 and 13, Krishna Bhagwan emphasizes to Arjun the path of karma yoga. That is the right thing for you to do because that will purify your mind, and then you will learn more and more about the self. Because pure mind only understand what the self is, what Bhagwan is. Then you will be sliding into meditation. Then you will experience your own self and you will go into the state of enlightenment. So just to summarize the path, and then the next verse is going to talk about this enlightened person, how does he live in this world? And this is a topic that they have taken up in all the second, third, fourth chapter, and now again in fifth chapter. because as I told you in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan always talks about the path and the final goal. Both he talks about, so that we know that where we have to go, where we stand, and what is the path. So he again in the next words he's going to talk about कि जो self-realized हो जाता है, the one who is get totally this peace and all that. How does he live in this world? He's going to describe that in the next one. Okay. Any question? Comment? Anybody wants to add anything? Okay. Meera ji, since you came after a long time, would you like to read? Okay.
All right, so verse 12, the united one.
No, we are at verse. Yes, right. Sorry, my fault. I don't know why I was looking at 13. Yes, we are on verse 12.
No, that's fine. No problem. Okay. Yeah. So, the united one, the well-poised or the harmonized, having abandoned the fruit of action, attains eternal peace. The non-unified, the unsteady or the unbalanced, impelled by desire and attached to the fruit, is bound. Through right actions undertaken without any self-dissipating anxiety for the fruits of those actions, a karma yogi can reach an indescribable peace arising out of the sense of steadfastness within him. Peace is not a product manufactured by any economic condition or cooked up by any political setup. It cannot be ordered by constitution, making bodies, or international assemblies. It is the mental condition in the bosom of an individual when his inner world is not agitated by any mad storms of disturbing thoughts. Peace is an unbroken sense of joy, and it is the fragrance of an integrated personality. That this can be brought about through selfless actions undertaken in a spirit of yajna is the revolutionizing theory given here. When the worker is established in his renunciation of the egoistic sense of agency, and when he has renounced his egocentric desires for the fruits of his actions, he soon becomes integrated and comes to experience the peace of steadfastness.
So here, Swamiji, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying this. Yeah. My paragraph ended, right? It ended. Your paragraph too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes. I was just saying that he has summarized it so beautifully, everything, because we somehow give the responsibility of peace outside, as if the government has to create peace or something. And he's saying no. And interestingly enough, I don't know who we were discussing with, that no matter which yuga you talk about, there was war going on. पहले वो दानव और वो लड़ रहे थे सतयुगा में and all that churning of the ocean. फिर रामचंद्र जी के टाइम पे सब लड़ाई, इतनी बड़ी लड़ाई हुई, और इसके पहले वाले युग में तो इतनी बड़ा महाभारत हो गया. So that is not going to go away, but they are talking about internal somebody's, because it's a personal journey, and the more people are peaceful inside, that's when the likelihood of war is not going to happen. Think about it. It is an individual responsibility rather than some responsibility of somebody outside. The more people take individual responsibility, result will show outside.
Not satisfied by this positive assertion, the Lord is re-emphasizing this very same philosophical truth in the language of negation. He says that when one is not established, a yukta, in the renunciation of agency, and because of his desires, gets himself tied down to some expected results of his actions, he gets himself bound and persecuted by the reactions of his own actions. Some medicines which in small doses can give a complete cure, can also spell death in larger doses. For example, the sleeping tablets. An instrument by which we can defend ourselves can itself be the instrument for our own suicide. The instruments can bless us only when we are intelligent in our use of them.
So this is very clear, beautiful example, isn't it? That हम लोग को भगवान ने दिया है intelligence and all that. If we use it for the wrong thing, then we will disturb ourselves only. And this is, I think that it's the Sadguru who always says that these days, that you are using your instrument to just be dukhi, and instead of becoming peaceful and happy, because you don't know how to use your instrument, of what purpose, and you don't know who you are and all that. So just learning that, hey, who we are only helps us. How should we use this instrument?
Yeah, and Sadhguru also always says that we are part of the solution, not the problem.
Right. Yeah. So, that's how the Mahatmas look at it. Like Tejo Mayananji in one made a comment that there are no problems in the world, there are only situations. Don't even call anything a problem, because we have this vocabulary now, oh my God, itna bada problem ho gaya and all. No, it's a situation that you have to just find a solution. Once you find a solution, the problem is not a problem anymore. So that they are looking at it so simple way, and we make it so complicated in everything. True.
In the same way, when we work in the outer field unintelligently, instead of gaining a greater glow of satisfaction and joy within, we will get ourselves more and more bound and hurled down into bottomless darkness. The cause for this has been beautifully explained by Sri Krishna. Due to desires for specific fruits, we are mentally attached to those wished for patterns to be fulfilled in future. Ooh. Due to desires for specific fruits, we are mentally attached to those wished for patterns to be fulfilled in future. This is compelling life to pattern itself to our will at a future moment. If a frog were to imitate a bull and grow to the bull's size, it would end in a tragedy. A mortal finite mind ordering a pattern for a future period of time is in no way better equipped than the frog that tries to expand to the size of a bull.
So what he's trying to say over here is that when we are attached to certain results and all that, that means we are trying to फ्यूचर जो है ना, हम चाहते हैं एक इस ढंग से चले. फ्यूचर की अपनी गति होती है, राइट? तो कितना एफर्ट वेस्ट होता है. एंड लाइक people sometimes, I want this result only. अगर उस पर ऐसा ही ध्यान चला जाए तो they will do anything to get that result. By hook or by crook, I want this way. Or for us, we have to see, I want this person to behave like this. I want my children to be like this. Or, I want my spouse to be like this. उसमें भी same ही type का problem होता है. That you cannot control all these things, but you are trying to, and you literally waste your life in just doing that. That's what they're trying to say,
But as to the man who sees the Supreme Being, and that leads us to the next verse.
Yeah. So, the person who is well established, through Karma Yoga, he has reached that highest stage. वो किस ढंग से रहता है, that will be the next one. But, it's interesting that Krishna Bhagwan, when the concepts are very, very important to him to tell Arjun, he tells him positive way, और ये नहीं करेगा तो ऐसा होगा. जैसे हम लोग कभी बच्चे लोग के साथ भी ऐसा करते हैं ना, hey, you better do this, अगर नहीं करेगा, जैसे इंडिया में बोलते हैं ना, you will be pumping gas or something. You have heard that. पढ़ेगा लिखेगा नहीं तो gas pump करेगा. Some similar kind of thing, hey, if you do this, this will happen. If you don't do it, then this is going to happen. Now you choose, what you want to be, Because in the end, Krishna Bhagwan did give a choice to Arjun. We have discussed that many times. He said, Parth, I have told you everything now. Now, whatever your mind says, you do it. He did not want to interfere with what decision he makes. But he put everything on the table. I think that's the beauty of Sanatan Dharma, that it gives you the facts and let you make the choice. What you want to do. Any other comment or any question? Want to add anything?
Swamiji, also if somebody pushes you into an action, then it's not karma yoga.
When you say, give me an example.
Like if Krishna Bhagwan has pushed Arjun.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Then it will be all different.
Yeah, and that's why if you really think about it, self-realized people don't push anybody.
Right.
They just share their experience. They don't judge anybody. They don't give advice. तुम ऐसा ही जाके करो, वैसा ही करो. If you go there seeking their advice and ask them specific question, they might give you an answer. But in the I have heard that in like general, जब वो लोग ज्ञान की बातें कर रहे हैं, तब वो लोग है ना पर्सनल एडवाइस भी नहीं देंगे. If you go personally, separately, they out of compassion they might tell you, but they just want to give you the knowledge and they want you to make your own decision. They want to make your own mind pure so that you will make better decisions. And sometimes, like our teacher used to say in Houston, even if somebody makes a mistake, that's not such a bad thing. That's how they'll learn. खाली बोलने से कभी कभी नहीं होता. If you don't believe in something, it's better to let the person do and experience it then. फिर उसकी आंखें ज़्यादा खुलेगी, Then उसको याद आएगा वो ज्ञान, वो या वहाँ पर बोला था ऐसा, I wish I did it. फिर पक्का हो जाएगा, So, true.
Like Sadhguru used to say, that they give you the tools.
Right. Yeah. So that's why even Guru के बारे में कहा गया है कि he lights the path for you, but you have to walk on it yourself. So he lights the path. उन्होंने कर्म योगा का path light up कर दिया अर्जुन के लिए, उसकी सारे चीज़ें बता दी, क्या होगा क्या नहीं, और अभी दूसरा path भी बता दिया कि भाई अगर नहीं करेगा कर्म योगा तो क्या होगा, अब तू चूज कर ले, एंड देन उसको इतना ज़रूर बोला उन्होंने कि तू रेडी नहीं है अभी, कर्म संन्यास के लिए. सो you practice कर्म योगा right now and you fight the war in कर्म योगा mode. He told them to do that as a worship of God, as your duty, for the higher purpose. So that's what it is. Any other point, question? No? Okay, we can go to the next one. We still have some time, so we'll be able to do it. So this is verse 13 now. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan karayan. Sarva karmani, all actions. Manasa by the mind. Sanyasya, having renounced. So he's talking about renouncing all actions mentally. That means we will go a little bit more into detail, that he's talking about doership now. You're not having a doership about it. Okay, and then aste is rest. Sukham, happily rest. Vashi, the self-control. जिसने सब इंद्रियों को वश में कर लिया है उसको वशी बोलते हैं. Actually, not only indriyas, but mind, intellect, indriya, सब उसकी control. He's a master. He's not letting his emotions drive him or the senses drive him and, those kind of things. Navadware. This is a very significant and we will learn more. 9-gated city and we will see what it is. Pure is in the city. Navadware is 9-gated. Pure is the city. India में बोलते हैं ना Falani, Puri and all that. That's how this means city. Dehi is the embodied. Means इस body को देह बोला है, इसमें जो रहता है उसको देही कहा गया है. The owner of the body. Just like we have an owner of a car. There's the owner of the body is called dehi. Na is not. Eva is even. Kurvan is acting. Na is not. Karyan, causing to act. He's not acting himself, neither he's causing anybody to act. That's what it means. But let's see what he's talking about. So the word dehi, let's look at what dehi means. That means a master living in the body. Okay, and he's talking about here the realized master now. Okay, the person who has realized the self. How does he live? He lives renouncing all action. What it does not mean that he's not performing any action, but it means, and we have learned this, actions are happening according to the law of nature. That's what it is. But he's free from doership. That's what it means, that renouncing all actions. He knows that he's not doing anything, and he's free of this I am performing, ahankar se wo totally free hai. Because ये ahankar, I'm doing this, I'm so great, बहुत जल्दी आ जाता है human being में. But if you have practiced karma yoga for a good length of time, then it gets all loosened up, and because you always dedicate to the higher. So, and then we have done this, but just we're kind of repeating it a little bit so that it goes deeper into us. That just like the lot of activities happen automatically in our body, breathing and digesting and all that, we're not really doing anything. But so he's saying that everything that happens, and those two verses were there, no? Hearing, listening, touching, grabbing, leaving, all those palke jhapakna, ye wo, all those things, those two verses that we did, that all that is happening by the nature only. So this person, this Dehi, has realized the innermost self, and he's living in that. We're going to talk about Navadware Puri, क्या है Navadware Puri, पर वो जो रहता है इस देह में, वो ईगो की तरह नहीं रहता है, but वो आत्मा की तरह रहता है इसमें. Okay, and we saw that how this person gets this deep peace. So he वो सुखी ढंग से रहता है अपने शरीर में. That's what the whole idea is. And इसको वशी भी बोला है. Vashi means that we talked about the one who has control over his senses, mind, and intellect. He is the master of these. Okay, and where does he live? He lives in this Navadware Puri. ये 9 द्वारों की नगरी में रहता है. तो अपने शरीर को 9 द्वारों की नगरी बताया गया है. And so we have 7 holes on our face. 2 ears, nostrils, mouth, and all, and 2 below, the excretion and the reproduction organ. So those are the 2. So there are 9. So very scientifically, it's like 9 gates. And then who are the citizens of this Navadware? Senses, mind, intellect. These are all the citizens. But who is the boss of them? That's the question. Boss is that Atma. Okay. So when you say Dehi, the true Dehi is the Atma. What is the job of a king? He's like a king. यहाँ पर boss, अभी हमने पूरी उसको बता दिया ना, उसको एक फोर्ट बता दिया या उसको एक नगर बता दिया हमने. तो नगर का राजा होता है, right? आत्मा is the राजा. Okay. Usually राजा लोग ज़्यादा काम धाम नहीं करते हैं. उनके सारे मिनिस्टर, नौकर, चाकर और उसका हर एक डिपार्टमेंट का एक उसको खाली रिपोर्ट देते रहते हैं, और राजा खाली बैठ के देखता रहता है. वो राजा is the boss, but he's really not doing anything. This is an analogy, so don't stretch it like too much, but just in general, okay? So it's like his presence in there makes everybody do everything. Everybody agrees, अगर राजा भाग गया तो कोई कुछ काम धाम नहीं करेगा वहाँ पे, नगरी एकदम चली जाएगी. तो आत्मा बैठा हुआ है हमारे बॉडी में, कनेक्टेड है, सो सभी लोग अच्छे से काम वाम कर रहे हैं, And what is that? He's kind of delegated all the work. Mind को बोला तू जाके data collect कर, senses are interacting with the world and bringing the information, and the intellect is making the decision and all. Atma is just witnessing. I think it's such a beautiful analogy, It's absolutely beautiful that how Krishna Bhagavan came up with this analogy. So now what is the difference between this? This is a wise person. This person who's residing in there is a wise person, and then he knows he doesn't have a doership, he understands everything, he becomes a witness. What is the other guy who is not like that? He resides in the body totally ignorant. He thinks that the body is me. जैसे अपने घर को मैंने अपना ही मान लिया. Like, some people who are very, very paranoid about cleanliness. Nobody's saying don't be clean, okay? But some people like some kind of obsession is there कि पहले ज़माने में वो कारपेट ज़्यादा होते थे तो कारपेट पे वो लाइंस दिखनी चाहिए. Like क्या बोलते हैं, वैक्यूम की. अगर उस पर चल लिया तो उनको बुरा लगता था. और रेफ्रिजरेटर में थोड़ा सा कुछ धब्बा वब्बा लग गया तो स्टार्ट क्लीनिंग अप. Saying, hey, the house is for you. You are not the slave of the house. See the difference? So when we overdo things for the body, we have also flipped in our mind. Body is a vehicle for self-realization. So that's why you need to keep it healthy. Eat good food to keep it healthy. But constantly pampering the body for 24 hours, worrying about the wrinkles and this and that and just, obsession, then, hey, you are not for the body is for you. Is your instrument, So that something like that you have to think that this person who is a yukta, ignorant person, he's just thinking I am the mind, body and intellect and doesn't know that the Atma, presence of Atma. So when he's saying that, the Dilli Wale Swami had a very good way of explaining this. He's saying if somebody asks you, who are you? So I will say, oh, I'm so and so, and I'm a man or a woman. So you're talking about your body, okay? Or somebody says, hey, how you're doing today? Oh no, I'm happy or unhappy. You're not talking about the self. You're talking about your mind right now, okay? That my mind is like that. Or you are saying, hey, what are you doing? I'm looking at this or looking at that. You're talking about your senses. So that, hey, who you are has many aspects to it, he was saying. Or you say, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. Then you are discussing your intellect. You're not discussing, who you really are. So the realized person is who knows that I am different from my body. That's the whole main thing over here. And that's why he's called the word Jivan Mukta. Like in Bhagavad Gita, that has a very big significance. While living in the body, while having the body, while living in the world, he is Jivan Mukta. He's free. That's why, last one it said he is peaceful and all that because he feels free. He doesn't feel bound, And then one more thing they talk about this is that he's not doing anything or causing anybody or anything or anybody to do anything. That's another very, very important thing. At that purest level, he's not doing anything. And the sun is the best example. Sun comes up in the morning and whole activity starts on the earth. As soon as sun's rays hit, the earth, sun is not ordering them. Ki tum aisa karo, tum aisa mat karo. That is happening in the Prakriti. Your own intellect and your own mind is doing all that. He's just providing you the energy to do it. But he's not making you do anything. So when people start saying, oh, this person made me do anything and all, it's putting the responsibility on yourself. Basically, that's what. Or Bhagwan ki marji from that perspective. When you surrender to Bhagwan and say Bhagwan ki marji, it's a different thing. But when you start blaming, there are some people कुछ खराब होता है तो जल्दी से भगवान को बोलते blame करते हैं. अच्छा होता है तो मैंने किया. So that's the kind of, so because these are a little subtle subject. And like Dilli Wale Swamiji ने एक बहुत अच्छा example दिया about how, being a witness or not thinking that my body is me and all like we think. He said that if a buffalo is walking from there, I don't say that, the buffalo is me. So that same way, body is, you have to look at it as somebody else's body almost. That's why, I remember one of the Swamini in her lecture, she used to say, when something is happening to you, become a witness. But how do you become a witness? Think that it is happening to the neighbor. Start looking like a scenery that you're watching that is happening. And you look at yourself doing all that, rather than think, oh, it's happening to me. It's a little practice, And then the other example that Dilivale Swami gave was a very good one. He's saying that these days, people have these homes, owner अंदर बैठा हुआ है और दरवाजे पे कोई आएगा तो he can speak to him, right? Hey, who are you? Communication system. So कोई एकदम इंडिया में होता है ना, गांव का समझो, कभी उसने देखा नहीं है कम्युनिकेशन, वो आ गया कहीं, तो वो बोलेगा है ये दीवार बात कर रही है, नहीं दीवार नहीं बात कर रही है, अंदर बैठा हुआ है वो ओनर. So same way, like when your body is acting up, it is not the body acting, but the boss is somebody else that's causing it to happen. So it's like you have to distinguish that it is when my eyes are seeing, there is a boss behind it. You can go more and more and more behind. Eyes are just collecting information, but if the mind is not connected, nothing is going to happen. Mind is the boss there. And then mind ke piche intellect is the boss, because he was just explaining that how the mind can bring the data and also give an opinion. But it is a clerk's opinion. It's not the boss, it's not the CEO's opinion. So it might say, at a lower level, mind will say, oh,